Hey, what's up, fellas? How you doing, man? Antonelli here.
Hey, what's going on, guys? How we doing? Matt Antonelli here. Today, answering your questions. Today's question is, does fan support during home games help you as a player? Does it help the home team? And does it affect the opposing team? So we're going to talk about it today. I've had the opportunity at the major league level to play in front of a lot of fans. Typically, in my experience, it was on the road. When I was up in the major leagues, we were not very good. I got called up when we were in last place. We didn't have a whole lot of fans at our home games. When the Dodgers came to town, it seemed like it was about split, half and half, Dodgers fans, Padres fans. So I can't say I ever really experienced a really big home field advantage, but I did play on the road, and I played in front of a lot of people. The most people I played against was at Dodger Stadium, probably around, I don't know how much their stadium holds, around 50,000 or so. It was during a playoff run for the Dodgers, the big part of their season late in the year. They had to win. They were playing pretty good baseball. The place was packed. And it was loud. It was really loud. It was the loudest I've ever heard a stadium in my career as a player. I've talked about this in past videos. Manny Ramirez hit, it felt like 100 home runs that series. But it was so loud when he was hitting those home runs. I remember standing at second base and getting a headache. The music was blaring. The fans were going bananas. And I literally remember sitting there being like, oh my God, I'm getting a headache from how loud these people are. Now, with that all being said, in my opinion, the crowd at the major league level, I don't feel like it ever really provided a huge home field advantage as far as having an effect on the opposing team where you get nervous, it gets you off your game. In my experience with baseball, I never really thought that happened. There's no doubt that it's an advantage to play at home. The home team does win, on average, more than the away team. Most players hit better at home than on the road. But I don't know that you can contribute that to fan noise and having a lot of support. In my opinion, I think a lot of it comes from when you play at home. One, you get used to the atmosphere, you get used to the field, you get used to the surroundings. I always felt like, as a hitter, when you're used to playing at your home park, you get used to the visuals of seeing the ball well. I always felt like I saw the ball pretty well at home. I think on defense, you get used to, again, your surroundings, the dimensions of your field, how your field plays, how the infield plays. Is it an infielder? Is it slow? Is it fast? You get to figure out, okay, what balls do I have to charge? What balls do I want to maybe drop step on? Which balls can I get around in forehand versus backhand and vice versa? As outfielders, you get used to how do the dimensions play, right? You feel comfortable going up against the wall because you've played there a bunch. You know how many steps is it to the fence? How much foul territory do I have? You're used to where the sun sets and playing with the sun and knowing how to play with the sun in those certain spots. And so I think a lot of that helps you become more comfortable and gives you an advantage versus, let's say you're a Red Sox and the opposing team comes in. Well, the left fielder isn't going to really feel as comfortable playing with the green monster behind them. He's not going to play the carom off the wall as well as the home outfielder is that has played there a million times. The center fielder might not feel as comfortable going into the triangle 420 feet away. The right fielder might not feel as comfortable coming in against right near Pesky's pole and having this much foul territory. So every home ballpark, most home ballparks have something about their field that is unique. And I think that is what mostly gives you the advantage in baseball. I think also being able to get into a routine. Baseball players are very routine oriented. Most players like doing the same thing over and over and over again. And when you play at home, it's easy to get into your routine. You know your routine. This is, we typically play at the same time every day. I know the city. I know where I eat. I know my way to the ballpark. I'm in my home. I'm in my own bed. And so the routine becomes much easier. And I think that helps. When you're on the road, it's just your routine switches all the time, depending on what cities you're in. You're sleeping in a hotel. You got to get you got to take an Uber. In my day, it was a taxi to the ballpark. Now it's an Uber to the ballpark. You don't know your way around the clubhouse. You don't know anything, right? Unless you're a 10-year vet that's traveled there tons of times. But still, you're never going to know a road, a road park and a road city as well as you're going to know your home field. So your routine is definitely going to be off, and it's going to have to change. And so I think all of that in combination makes it easier to be the home team. It's not like football, where in football, the home team has a huge advantage because of the noise, right? They can't communicate as well. And so that's a distinct advantage in football. Maybe in basketball, the crowd noise, can really, communication maybe a little bit, but more than that, I think it's when a team is able to get on a run, when the crowd really gets into it, it energizes you as a player. You play tougher defense. In baseball, it's just a different type of game. You don't play baseball like you play basketball, 100 miles an hour, like you play football. You have to play with a really slow heartbeat. And a lot of times in baseball, if you get too amped up, you don't play as well. Now, some players play well amped up, but I would say the majority of guys don't play baseball, like you play football or like you play basketball. And so I don't know if a home crowd cheering for you gets you to that point. Now, some people will say, well, what about when, the opposing crowd or the road crowd heckles you, right? They heckle the road team. Again, in my experience, you'll hear that a little bit. I mean, I remember being on the on-deck circle, and sometimes the crowd will, say stuff to you. But at that point, like, a fan telling you stink is not going to bother you. Hell, I've been told by home fans that I stink, so it doesn't really matter whether I'm on the road or at home. But that stuff doesn't really get to you. And I don't think that really has an effect on you. And a lot of times it's really hard to hear that. I've said this before. When you play in a stadium with a lot of people, all you kind of hear is like this white noise. You hear like a cha. That's all you hear. It's really, you don't really hear individual people yelling at you. Unless you have no fans, and then you can hear the few people that are screaming at you, nice 192 batting average. But typically, when you play someplace with a lot of fans, you don't really hear that at all. Again, overall, I just don't think in the major leagues that the home crowd has that much of an effect on the players. Now, at a lower level, I think it does. When I was in college, I thought there was a huge home field advantage. When we went and played at places like Florida State, Clemson, places that have NC State, places that had big crowds, and they are on you. The crowds at those places are big enough that a lot of people there are screaming at you, but small enough that you can hear the people in the crowd, right? It's not a big league stadium with 50,000. It's maybe a couple thousand, and you can hear them. You're also a younger player. You don't have as much experience. And when they start ripping on you, and they read your Facebook, and they start calling out your girlfriend's name and all this other stuff, making fun of your mom, sometimes that gets to players, especially young players. And so I thought there were games in college where I would get a little nervous. I remember my first game ever at Clemson as a freshman. I was like, these people are mean. Like, I could hear everything they're saying. I think that can affect you. as a major league player, I never really ever felt that at a game. In some ways, you get immune to it. You become immune to it. You get used to it as you get older. You get more experience. You become more mature. You start playing in bigger ballparks, and eventually you're just like, yeah, whatever. I mean, you can put up 500,000 people, and it's probably the same as 50,000. But I noticed it in college a lot because you come from little tiny crowds in high school where it's just your parents, it's everyone's families, and then you go to college, and then there's actually a fan base, and you've got a bunch of college kids that have been doing keg stands all day long, and they're screaming all kinds of obscenities at you, and sometimes that can get you. So college, yes. Pro ball, not so much. Major leagues, in my opinion, not too bad. Hopefully that helps you guys out. Let me know if you have any more questions in the comment section below. Subscribe to this channel. Give the video a thumbs up. I feel like I've done this whole video needing the cough, but I've held it in. So, I better get off of here soon. I'm going to have a cough fit. I can't get rid of this cough. It's like 3 weeks in a row. I feel fine, except for the cough. So, anyways, there it is. I'll see you guys later. Thanks to our patrons supporting us on Patreon. Hit the notification bell. That's all we got. I'm out of here.